Well, hello. This show is called The Lie They Made Real because it is the one of our 12 values, the second of our 12 values, and that is anti-racism. Because, as I often say, and as remains true and is very true, and the dichotomy that we need to keep in mind, race is fake. It's fucking fake. It's not real. Okay? There's nothing real about it. Nothing, even like, conversations around hair, like 4C hair or 2B, whatever. Even those don't accurately map to races or ethnicities the way that they're supposed to. It's fake. It's not a real thing. However, because of the way that some people in Spain and Portugal in the 1500s decided it was a great idea to make everything on the basis of race, and that spread through Europe and then the world, right? Now we got to worry about it. And not only do we have to worry about it, but it's literally how this country was built and conceived. And it is woven into every law we have. And that's why it's not enough to merely be not racist. I'm not racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Okay, who cares? Are you anti-racist? Right? Are you fighting against racism in your own life, in your own home, in your own dealings with people? And this is one of the things that when I talk about how the 12 values are aspirational, because there is some way that everyone, even if you believe in them all in your bones, there's some way this society makes it so that you have to skirt how much you can fight for any of them at any given moment. And this is the thing I remind white COVID cautious folks of all the time, especially those of y'all who are real strident about it. And listen, let me preface this by saying, because I have to every time I make this criticism, that like your girl don't leave the house without a mask on. Okay, I have not breathed any shared air with a bunch of people since 2019, basically, or the very beginning of 2020. Okay, so take it somewhere else if you think I am not as COVID conscious as you. But the problem is, y'all will be pillorying people for that, and then you'll go and have holiday dinners with people who would watch me die, who would themselves be the ones to attend my lynching, right? We all, not a damn one of us, upholds all the values that we believe in as strongly as we would love to. So it's important that we're not so fucking precious about it. And also that we do more, right? This world is all about these, the understanding of opposite truths. Right? That's one of the things about astrology that's great. Because maybe in each side of the zodiac, this ties in, bear with me, in each side of the zodiac, one of the signs on a particular issue may be more right on a certain issue or on a thing, but the other, their sister sign, has the truth that will complete the truth. The thing that needs to be known in order to make whole the entire thing. Right. And in the case of anti-racism, we have to understand that everybody who grows up in Western society, and actually in the world at this point, unfortunately, because we have outsourced so much of American culture, everyone has racist thoughts. Everyone in some way has to fight back against racism in their own mind, because that's how ubiquitous it is. That's how ubiquitous it is. We actually believe, a lot of us believe, or not, even if we don't believe it like cognitively, our lizard brains still have it in there, and we have to fight it, that there is like inherent differences between the races, even though that's not true. Even though we know that, physiologically, scientifically, biologically, there is as much or more difference in between people of the same so-called race as there are between people of different races, because it's all fake. That there is more diversity between different African people than there is between an African person and a European person. That's just science. That's just science. Now, after we get past that understanding, we also have to be really aware of race in everything, because everything's racist. Everything's fucking racist in this world. Today, Memorial Day. Memorial Day was originally called Decoration Day. I didn't know this until extremely recently, like today. I was today years old when I found out that Memorial Day is a stolen holiday too. And it was a holiday well, it wasn't a holiday at first, but it was, a bunch of formerly enslaved people. They saw that a bunch of Union soldiers who had fought for their freedom had been interred in some, disrespectful way. And they went in and they disinterred they exhumed the bodies, and then they buried them in a place of honor. And they called this Decoration Day, and they did like a whole thing around the place, and it was a whole event, right? So that was fucking co-opted by white folks. And then the history erased. The real history of it erased. Which is a story that is so quintessentially American and so deeply racist. There is so much about this world, right? And here, the thing is, people say, you can't put race into everything. Yes, you can. In this country especially, but in this world writ large, yes, you can. Because race is involved in some way. You want to talk about music? Like, I mean, I'm a spooky girly. Like, I love goth music. I love all that sort of thing. I didn't know until recently that the first goth or heavy metal or shock rocker or whatever was fucking Screaming Jay Hawkins, right? With the skulls, with the presentation coming up out of a coffin. This man invented that fucking aesthetic and didn't get credit for it. Why? Racism, right? Who invented rock and roll? It definitely wasn't, the Fab Four, the fucking Beatles, right? We know who it was. Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Many, 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 many years before. Started the genre, right? Even we can look at someone like Chuck Berry, right? Or there are so many black folks who started things and then got erased. Obviously, we know about Elvis Presley and how Hound Dog was by fucking Big Mama Thornton, and was just whitewashed. Everything in this society has something to do with race. And the thing is that if you are a white person in this country, you have been educated to think of everything else as ethnic and you as essentially nothing, as the default. And that too is part of it, right? Because you've had your culture erased and homogenized to become a false thing known as whiteness. The thing which actually undergirds this country. And it's why so much violence can be exerted on people of other ethnicities, because there is an unhealed wound in folks that have come under the umbrella of whiteness. And what is that wound? Before the show was taken on the road, right? Who were the first victims of whiteness? White people, right? European people. Because before they could go around the world and teach people whiteness, they needed stormtroopers. And it's similar, or at least analogous to what happens with men, cis men especially. The first victim of patriarchy, as Bell Hooks said, is the heart of the cis men, right? The first victims of whiteness were European white people who had cultures, ancient cultures, right? Ancient traditions, connections to land. Those were erased and homogenized to become part of a project that would then be taken around the world. The Inquisition. Where did the Inquisition start? The Inquisition did not start against brown people. It started against white folks. It started against European folks, right? Violently and viciously, using some of the same literal tools and torture devices, etc., that would then be used on indigenous folks, on black folks during enslavement, and all of that. But it started there, right? Re-indigenize yourself, please, right? erase yourself from the culture of whiteness and think about how whiteness also, the way that whiteness has metastasized itself in this country. That's why you can't fucking tell if you're in Maine or if you're in Missouri when you're in most suburbs or in most like little areas, because it's the same four shops. It's the same concrete. It's the same architecture. It's the same. Everything looks the same. Homogenization, right? The destruction of difference, of culture, is what makes whiteness whiteness. And it is a poison. And it's a poison that you carry as a white person unless you throw it off. And it's going to be a lifelong thing. Because, and this is something that I've been thinking about so much recently. A lot of us think that, and we have been taught actually, that like, and it's a Christian thing. If you carry sin in your heart, you're a sinner, or some nonsense like that, right? I believe that we're not really responsible for our thoughts. The first thing you think is your programming. There's a lot of stuff on the inside of you that is made to stay on the inside of you, right? Your programming will have you thinking all kinds of stuff, right? Things will just pop into your head and you'll be like, where did that come from? Well, it probably came from something you heard when you were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 years old. That's just stuck in there. It's what you do and how you act in the world that matters. And that's why it's not enough to not be racist. Because to say I'm not racist, you're actually lying to yourself and to the rest of us. Because, yeah, at some point in your life living in this country, you watched the news and you saw the news that they were putting in front of you, which was black and brown people being accused of X, Y, and Z thing, showing you the crime statistics in black and brown neighborhoods, showing you all the horrible things and the ways that black and brown people were different or less fit or inherently less intelligent. Oh yes, maybe, black folks, they're great at music and art and whatever, but they're just not as intelligent and they don't have the family structure or whatever to be part of. All of these lies are things that we've all heard. And you're lying to yourself to say that you haven't heard those things, right? Now, whether or not you don't believe them, yes. And how you choose to live your life, how you choose to show up in the world for people of color. Do you show up in the real world for people of color? Do you support their work? Do you buy from them? Do you share their things? Do you actually do in the real world? Do you fight for us in rooms we're not in? Or do you just go like, I don't feel like having this fight? And guess what? No matter who the fuck you are, there has been some point, if you are a white person, where likely for your physical safety, you've actually had to be quiet about stuff you really believe in. And that's what I mean. We can't be too precious about pressing people on their values, because you fucking know that at some point you have been quiet on something you shouldn't have been quiet on, right? And I don't say that to blame or shame you. I say that to say, let's be real, right? If you actually want to be for the people, you have to be anti-racist. The first value is anti-capitalism, because capitalism subsumed race and racism in order to, it's perfect as a tool to divide the working classes from each other. It's a perfect tool, right? Because you have some people thinking that they're better than others that are still in the same class, and that makes it easy to exploit all of them, sure, but it's a separate issue. And we don't do fucking class reductionism around here, because racism is too important and too singular and too separate, and also is responsible for so much pain, so much violence, right? When people talk about enslavement in history, in human history, yeah, there has been enslavement throughout human history. But United States chattel slavery was a different thing. It was a very, very different, much worse animal. And it was hereditary. Whereas previously, and if you were a slave in, say, ancient Rome or whatever, your children wouldn't necessarily be slaves, right? People enslave their next door neighbors all the time, but the children of those enslaved people were not necessarily slaves because it wasn't hereditary. The creation of race made it so there was a visible, permanent underclass, right? And that is taken all over the place. And it's even in like brown folks, right? Because of the caste system in India, Indian folks have anti-blackness like you wouldn't fucking believe, right? And before any brown folks, any Latinx folks have some shit to say, I'm sure you've heard of mejorar la raza, okay? Right? Which is basically like lean towards the white and European in your lineage than towards the indigenous and to the brown in your lineage, right? We've all got it, and we have to fucking fight it because it is one of the foundational elements of our own enslavement. It's the reason that we let the 13th Amendment rock for so long, because white folks thought that that was just for enslaved people and therefore black people, right? That's why, like, Black Lives Matter, both times it has cropped up as a major movement. Like, a lot of folks stepped up and then fell away, receded into the background because it wasn't seen. That, of course, it's all connected. Of course it's all connected. Because why? Because anyone who lives under the same laws as you, right? If there's a tiny little sliver of a line being drawn between you and them, one that is arbitrary, one that is scientifically not real, that line can be redrawn at any moment, right? This is, again, why you have to fight for trans people. Because everything that's happening to trans folks right now, you're going to get a taste. And I'm not just saying that, I'm saying it from history. Because that's what happened when the Third Reich came to power. When they destroyed the Magnus Hirschfeld Institute, they started with, first they came for the trans people, right? When we didn't even make the fucking poem. But anyway, be anti-racist. Anti-racist. And that means you got to be brave. That means you got to be willing to say to people, hey, what the fuck did you just say? I don't know who told you that was okay. I don't know what you and your fucking white supremacist Proud Boy friends do on the weekend, but while I'm here, you're not gonna fucking say that in front of me. And if you have the physical ability to throw hands, I'm not suggesting anything illegal, but also, if you don't have the physical ability to throw hands, you have a way to make these racist people's lives hell. And you should. Because it's your fucking duty. Because guess what? Racism is not a black and brown people problem. It is a white people problem. Because we cannot undo something we did not start. Right? All isms, all of the main crimes, the main horrors, the main forms of oppression in this world have to be primarily fought by the people who could be the beneficiaries of them if they just stayed silent and stayed complicit. Because guess what? It's all tied together. And you're not actually a beneficiary of anything. Your planet is being destroyed too by these racist goons. Right? Your future, your children's future is also being destroyed by the same people who are making these racist ass jokes about George Floyd on today, the anniversary of the day 6 years ago, when Derek Chauvin made a fucking snuff film that we all had to watch. Just one of millions of snuff films that have been made of black people. One of hundreds of, definitely thousands of lynchings of black people. Right? And I want you to think about how fucking disgusting it is. How chilling it is that for everyone who watched that and was disgusted, there were people who watched that and got a rise out of it, got a kick out of it. They fucking enjoyed it. Right? And before you say that kind of evil is like something mythological, think about, have you seen the videos of there's a great creator who talks to on like Omegle or something like that, talks to Israeli people, and he is Palestinian. The hatred in these people's eyes when he tells them that he is Palestinian. The ways they say they want to kill him or they want to bomb him, or one of them actually got into his shower, not into the creator's shower, but into his own shower. And while he was on camera with this creator, started peeing in the shower and said, "I am peeing on your family." Right? And you can't say that the country that shall not be named, the fake country, is unique in this. They are the child of the United States, right? And the United States, we're getting a lot of our ideas from Third Reich Germany. But guess where they got their ideas? They got their ideas from 1700s United States, right? It ping pongs back and forth. It really is like children. Think about the difference between Fred Trump and Donald Trump. Fred Trump was a KKK member. And his child is our president. Right? They both did all kinds of shit to make housing for black people damn near impossible whenever they had the fucking chance. Right? Everything is about race in this country. Ask Robert Moses. Why are there fucking freeways running directly through the middle of towns that used to be thriving multicultural communities that were black-led? Because they saw that people were getting together and they said, absolutely the fuck not. No, we shall not have it. We shall not have the races uniting, because if they unite, then they will see that it is all a game for the wealthy. These are our chattel. Black and white and otherwise, they're our chattel. Until we actually fight we need to be more strident. We need to be more uncompromising. And we need to do it in places where it's difficult. Right? At this point in my life, I'm not dealing with certain people. I'm just not going to do it. Whatever I could gain by dealing with them, I'm not going to have it, right? And for a lot of y'all, full shade, a lot of y'all are just lazy when it comes to fighting against your family members. And a lot of you will say, well, it's just family. I just have to do this once or twice a year. Why? Why do you have to do it once or twice a year? There are people who share your values, who you could be building a real future, real community, where you don't have to hide who you actually are, where you don't have to lean on just the mythology that blood somehow makes you more connected with certain people. Because that's part of white supremacy too, and that's part of racism too. And that's why I often say anti-racism is one of the reasons I often say that the final boss for a lot of you motherfuckers is family. Letting family get away with shit, even when you know better. Because what does that amount to? If you are white and your family is worth throwing away your values, what are you saying? You're saying blood and soil. And who else said blood and soil in this world? What company are you putting yourself in? Right? Anyway, that is going to bring us to the end of this week's installment of the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. We continue to keep building and changing things around and innovating and bringing new stuff. We want every episode to be a little different, a little special, but also with threads that run through so that it's familiar, right? We ask that you do please share the stream and also just tell folks about it, mention it, and please do submit to us, not like that. Keep your mind out of the gutter, okay? You're going to have to pay for that because your girl doesn't do that for free. Anyway, submit to us any ideas, any your talents, any videos, anything that you have that you can do that you think you'd want to share with the world, and that this would be a great place to share it with people who share your values, who share your love for the world and for the people in it and for the future. Share it with us. Share it with us, give it a whirl, because we really do want to share more of your talents with the world. Just like we are doing our best to share ours with you every week. This is our 25th episode, y'all. Can you fucking believe it? 25 episodes in. And we're going to just keep doing it. And we're going to keep doing it better and bigger and bringing you more things. Mistrix and I are working on stuff basically all the time because, you know what? It's partially because it's fun, but also it's something we believe in. You know, we believe in this show as a way to both share entertainment and art, but also to be the change that we want to see in the world. And I also ask you to please do support all of the artists. You saw the amazing, death-defying Echo Thorn. He is a fucking phenom. And, you know, he also keeps adding skills to his danger routine roster. Square Symbols, who is always excellent. And, of course, the amazing and wise Worm. And, you know, you may have noticed just little changes and little improvements to just how the show is run and how things look and how they're going. And we're going to keep working on it. Also, please feel free to, if you have suggestions or questions or comments or anything like that, hit us up, because maybe there's something we haven't noticed that we can change, that we can do better, because that is really what we aim to do, because this show is, again, like all the things we believe in, by the people and for the people. But for now, I would love to see you again next week. Thank you from myself and from Echo Thorn and from Square Symbols and from Worm and from the amazing and inimitable Mistrix. We'll see you next week.